Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heart Center Tarot. As always, my name is Marina, and I will be your guide for this portion of the journey. And I have Irish Granny Helen with me. Hello.
You it's made a miracle.
It.
Yeah. I feel like an apparition of Mary or something. You should explain what I'm joking about.
Yeah, Helen was having issues trying to get backstage.
Big shot, right?
Yeah, and it was like she was caught in YouTube hell. It's one of those things that just keeps going in circles. Like, would you like to place your order now? Click yes or no. Yes. Did you want to place that order now? Click yes or no.
That's exactly.
Yes. Is this the order you want to place? Yes.
That is exactly what it was like. So finally, I just started pushing random buttons. I have no idea what I did. And did I look shocked? Did I look appropriately shocked when I was like,
yes,
oh my
yes,
God, it worked.
Yes, it worked. Yeah. So whatever you did, it worked. And here we are. Welcome, folks. I see there's 7 people in here, and so far they're all being quiet. That's all right. You can lurk. You're allowed to do that. Only thing that I ask is if you would please like, share, and subscribe to both our channels.
Oh, you're so good. I never remember that stuff. I forget all of the, the business.
Yeah.
I'm so overwhelmed by just the presence.
Yeah. We're here.
So, Marina, thank you for having me. And I just wanted to tell you, I feel like I'm on a diplomatic mission. I swear, I feel like the ambassador or something. This is getting desperate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And love to all of my Canadian friends. I am so relieved and so happy.
Yes.
I'm getting chills. I just think it's so significant what happened today in Canada. Thank God for Canadians.
Yes, absolutely. I was, I did a show earlier on it, and shared some information with folks, and I was very glad to see that there were sections of the country that voted very strategically.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I really haven't followed it, other than he hated the people I would want to hate, so I was okay with that.
Yes.
Without going into detail. So
yes,
what
absolutely. And do you have something turned up? Because I'm hearing myself through an echo.
No headphones, no nothing. It's just
okay. Well, then maybe it's just me. So
let me go on my microphone here and see if maybe there's something I should watch me screw this up.
Don't. It's okay. It's okay. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine.
I'm afraid to push the button and we'll all explode.
Yes. Yeah. So hello, Mary, and hello, Barbara. I haven't said hello. So yes, with one of the sort of anomalies with Canada, and it's happened over many election cycles, is that if you pay attention to the way that Nova Scotia votes, they historically tend to vote with the government in power. So when Nova Scotia went liberal, I thought, okay, all righty, I get that.
They tend to be a little bit more careful. They like to just stick with what they know.
They make informed decisions. They're not. They don't get overly emotional when it comes to elections. They're very thoughtful. They take the time to find out who stands for what, who's doing this and who's doing that. So starting in Nova Scotia, which is basically the kind of where the polls where you start paying attention.
Right.
Yes. So, they are generally a good indicator of how the country's going to go. So yes, when they went liberal, I thought, great. Newfoundland went liberal with 2 conservatives. I'm okay with that. Prince Edward Island went liberal.
Whoa.
New Brunswick went predominantly liberal. So I was feeling really, really good. And then it all kind of came together when we got to Quebec. Quebec is, they tend to vote Bloc Québécois, which is a,
Right.
it's a provincial party. They don't run candidates in any other ridings. They're basically, they want to look after Quebec and kind of highlight issues
They have
that
that strong
Quebec.
national identity of,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So as the polling was coming in, and they are predominantly a Bloc Québécois province, and they started to go liberal, and I thought, okay, this is what they're doing. They are. They know that they do not want a conservative government. They know that if they vote for the Bloc, it's almost like they're throwing their
Vote away.
vote away.
Yeah, yeah.
So they sacrifice the Bloc seats in order to vote liberal. And I thought that was a very patriotic thing to do.
I think it's a very self-protective thing to do. You
Yeah,
guys need to be strategic and
absolutely.
I mean, this is a threat. I don't think people understand. This guy's a threat.
Yes. Yeah. So I did kind of at the end of the show, I did pull a couple cards about, are the Bloc going to work in tandem with the Liberals? And I stopped at 2 cards. I got the Tower and the Devil card, and I went, ooh. Okay, so maybe they're going to try to work together, but they may have some issues. So yeah, Ontario went liberal. Manitoba was mostly conservative. Alberta, I could have told you, I could have bet money on that they would go conservative, and they did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, aren't Manitoba and Alberta, and my knowledge of, it's weaker than it ought to be, but aren't they kind of equivalent to our Midwest and our states like Montana, like North Dakota and
Yes.
those states? Yeah. So they would tend to be more rural maybe, and
Yes.
yeah, more conservative. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And and Alberta has they are willfully conservative. That even in light of showing them that a conservative government is not going to look after your interests, it's a case of, nope, I vote conservative. My dad voted conservative. So did his dad and his dad's dad. We vote conservative.
Let me tell you something. My husband comes from a very Republican family. He's the black sheep.
Yes.
And let me give you an example. He was born in Whittier, and anyone who knows anything about American political history, that name will ring a bell. That's where Richard Nixon was born.
Mm-hmm.
They moved to Whittier and joined the Quaker Church in Whittier. Not particularly Quakers, but that was Richard Nixon's church, and they were hoping to run into him. My mother-in-law thought that the Richard Nixon Library was Shangri-La, and so she's long gone. My sister-in-law is 80. My husband's in his 70s. She confronted him a while back. How can you be a Democrat? 80 years old. Mom and Dad were Republican. I can't even talk about it.
No.
Are you kidding me?
I know.
I hear you about Alberta. There are people who really identify, and that's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that was not a surprise. BC, kind of went, almost half and half, middle of the road, and so on. what surprised me was that Polyev did not win his seat.
Oh, at all?
No.
Good, because I
No.
can't really pronounce his name properly, so that's good. That takes the pressure off.
Yeah, I sort of had to practice. Yeah, Polyev. Because yeah, I want to say Polivier, but anyway,
Yeah,
Polyev.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was Fanjoy, the liberal, who took the writing, and so now the discussion is, is Polyev going to want to take over a safe conservative seat from one of the newly elected MPs? My
Can they
sense
just
is
take a seat?
they can talk to their members and say, maybe if you give up that seat now and you give it up to Pierre, then next election cycle we'll do this and this and this for you. That
Even if they've been elected by the people?
yes.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yes. So I mean it's happened before. It's happened to
Yeah.
both parties, right? Where the leader doesn't get elected, but that he needs to have a writing in order to be to be in parliament and so on. My feeling is that the party is talking to him and basically asking for his resignation. I think he's going to be gone by July. And I think that, the feeling that I get is, basically telling him, look, this election was yours to lose and you lost it big time. You misread the room. And yeah, this is
Time
not,
to go.
yeah.
Well, let me ask you about British Columbia. Is it because of the influx of people immigrating from Asia that it tends to be a little more conservative? I'm making all kinds of assumptions here. I don't know, but I'm just curious. People often think that immigrants are going to be liberal, but that's not true. It
No,
depends on where they come from, right?
no,
Yeah.
exactly.
So does that
Exactly.
make a difference? Are they more conservative?
Um, Not necessarily more conservative. They are, BC would be, I would consider them like the tree hugger province.
Well, yeah. They're kind of
So,
urban, liberal,
yes,
and then
yes,
everybody in the woods, right? Okay.
yes. So, it was fairly evenly split. The NDP picked up 3 seats in there, as did the Green Party. And I believe that was Elizabeth May.
Well, the
Who,
NDP, if I remember correctly, usually does pretty well on the West Coast, right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, kind of the California of Canada.
Yeah, and they lost a lot of seats, and they might even lose their official opposition
Oh,
title because they did lose quite a lot of seats.
so what's left? The Yukon? Is that
Yeah, pretty
separate?
much the Yukon. There's and the Yukon they kind of consider Nunavut
Oh,
as
sorry,
like
I don't
the
know.
whole thing. Yeah,
Okay.
they went
They
in.
went back to the Aboriginal name. I love
Yes,
that. And then
yes.
Northwest Territories, is
Yeah,
that
that
a
all
province?
yeah, that all kind of falls under the Nunavut
Oh,
um
okay,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. So they
God, how
yeah.
ignorant do I sound?
No, not at all.
Terrible.
Not at all.
It's shameful.
So yeah.
We don't learn about Canada in the United States. I mean, I went to school all the way through in the United States, and I do not remember ever really learning much about Canada. Well, it's north and
Yeah.
it's cold.
Yeah.
Maple syrup.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You don't
about
want to
it.
go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there. Yeah. So before I carry on, I just quickly want to say hello to Joan Baker, Anita K. Hello, artist Liz. I hope you're doing well. And Donna was wondering if we were going to be doing readings, and I don't know. at this point, I don't know if we're going to do any readings or if we're just going to have a discussion, because there's things to talk about.
The spirit
So
moves us, we will.
yeah, exactly. So I can't say yes or no, because I don't want to lie to you in case you leave and you find out
let's
later,
be
oh, they did
political. Maybe.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Oh, okay, Liz. Yeah. Sending you lots of love. And she's still in the hospital. It's been a while.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, Polyev lost his seat. Jagmeet Singh, who was the leader of the NDP,
Mm-hmm.
and he lost his seat, and he has said no, he's resigning. He's not going to be doing this again. And then there was somebody else. I think it might have been the Green Party candidate or leader that lost their seat as well. So, there's things are changing. People, I think, are realizing that Mark Carney is the man for the job, right?
So what's he like?
He's quick to laugh. He's serious, but not,
Sure.
Yeah, he's I think he appears like he's very approachable. He takes his job very seriously, and he does believe in, we take care of everybody. We don't take care of just a few,
The
right?
people that vote for us.
Yeah, exactly. So no, he was governor of the Bank of Canada in 2008, and got us through that, the real estate bubble and all that kind of stuff that we had going on. And then he went from the Bank of Canada to the Bank of England. And he was there as they went through Brexit. And several of the people that I've listened to and I've talked to that are from England said, listen, he did us a huge favor. He put guardrails in place so that should Brexit happen, that it wasn't going to be as awful as it could have been. So they do speak highly of him. Now the Americans will tell you that, well, yeah, Carney was there. He was responsible for Brexit. No, he wasn't.
Well, no.
No.
But Americans of a certain sort will tell you what they want you to believe.
Yes.
And what,
yes.
That, you have to be honest about things. You know that I just have to throw this out there. When you said that he has a sense of humor, they've done studies. Sense of humor is directly proportional to IQ.
Yes.
So it's a good idea to laugh. You'll fool people into thinking you're smart.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And he's the guy that I want at the negotiating table when they are talking about tariffs, because he's the guy who can look at the numbers and say, yeah, they don't add up.
This is how I feel about tariffs. Oh,
yeah.
So sick of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so he's willing to make some of the more difficult decisions, but he's looking at long term. He's not looking at, oh, I need a result today. So he was really a direct opposite to Pierre Poilievre, who is a career politician. The man never worked a day in his life in any industry. He just went from getting his law degree to boom, I'm a politician. So, one of the questions that I had, and I posed this earlier, was, okay, politicians don't generally make, substantial amounts of money. So how does this guy who's been in politics for 21 years end up having a net worth of 25 million?
Yeah,
Really?
politicians make lots of money. They may not make a big salary, although they make
Yeah.
a healthy enough salary. But what they get is influence and power and a link to a juicy little job when they're done in politics. In the United States, they all become lobbyists
Lobbyists,
or
yes,
consultants, whatever that means.
yes,
And they make the big bucks.
yeah, yeah. They make it then. So he's Polyev was always Trump light. He waited, and I thought this was comical. He waited until yesterday morning, the day of the election, to post on X, basically saying, Donald Trump, stay out of our elections. It's like, dude, you're a day late and $1 short. Like, the time to call Trump out was weeks ago, not the day of the election. But I think he could see the writing on the wall and, kind of wanted to, do that. Yeah, me too, me too.
Cowardice and hedging your bets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Can't have it both ways. You have to take a stand, and then the repercussions are the repercussions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And he was very, he was a threat to a lot of Canadian norms. Like he wanted to privatize healthcare.
Oh my God.
No.
Your healthcare is the envy of everybody I know.
Exactly. He also wanted to cut out some social programs. People rely too much on the social safety nets. Yeah, they do. They're there for a reason.
I know. And I am so tired of politicians calling Social Security an entitlement. Well, it is an entitlement. We're entitled to it because we paid it. And we lent them our money to do as they would with the guarantee that it would be there when we were old and needed it. All of a sudden, the rules change.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. No, you can't do that. Unless, of course, you want to change the rules. Good. Give me back every penny I paid into it. Right? You collected it from every single paycheck. I want it all back. But so, Polyev was just kind of that ilk. And I think a lot of people recognized it and said, no, we're not, we have a front row seat to what happens when you've got people who are overly concerned with what it is that they want and making sure that they get a bigger piece of the pie at the expense of someone else. So no, we're not going to fall for it. Right.
I read this book a long time ago. I have it here someplace. It's called Political Ponerology, which is like big words, right? Basically, it just means the evolution of evil in politics.
Yeah.
And it was written by a group of students in Eastern Europe at the beginning of World War II. They were like psychiatric students, psychiatrists, medical students. They were all friends, and they felt helpless. They felt, what can we possibly do? We see what's wrong here. What can we do? And they thought, well, we can use our skills, which is our ability to analyze people. And we may not be able to change today, but we can provide people in the future with understanding. So they put together this little book. It's one of the hardest books I have ever read. The kind of book where you read a paragraph and you go back and read it, and it's in English.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, what did I just read? It's a very slow going. It's a slog. I wouldn't say it's a fabulous book to read because it's hard work. But I can tell you basically what the conclusion that they came to, one of the many, there is this strata or type of person who will attach to the coattails of power, and they don't care which way they get dragged. They don't care. It's like no moral compass. They're an empty shell, and they have no compunction about hurting other people. It's all about self-aggrandizement, pragmatism, ego, power, and money. And those are the kind of people at the end of World War II who took off their uniforms or left town and went into the small villages in the hills and quietly became the burgermeisters and the mayors and the city councilmen, died in the wool Nazis that went along with everything without blinking an eye.
Yes.
And so what does it take to take an ordinary person and turn them that way? Well, they said there's just some sort of defect of character and psychological makeup where your own advantage becomes paramount, you know. And it's scary because you don't know who those people are until they become those people.
Exactly.
You don't know who to trust, who to talk to. You never know what your neighbor might do. You just don't know. It's kind of a dark book, but it's really valuable because it's insight.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the more insight that you have into something, yeah, the better prepared you are to deal with things when they come up.
Marina, I'm so happy to hear you say that because that's my philosophy is we're morally obligated to face this. That's why we're here. We can't turn away from it. No. We don't have to roll around in it in despair all the time, but we can't turn our faces away. We have to acknowledge it. And then what do we learn? What can we do? That's the challenge. But sticking your fingers in your ears and humming is going to get you nowhere because eventually you're going to have to take your fingers out of your ears. You might not like what you see when you come up for air.
Exactly. That's where we're learning some harsh truths that maybe we had a little better understanding of in the past, and then we just kind of we just pushed it aside. It almost reminds me of Dr. Spock. Remember, spoil the child, spare the rod.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was kind of when things started to turn the other way. We're up into, until then, you could be parented, you could be corrected by any adult that was around that happened to see what you were doing. And the last thing that you ever thought of doing was going home and saying, Mom, Mrs. So-and-so said blah, blah, blah. Because not only would Mom call Mrs. So-and-so and find out what happened, but so then, you'd get in trouble doubly so, right?
Yeah.
So when we started to, when we stopped being a community and started to think of ourselves as having more importance individually, that's when we started to lose a lot of that caring about someone else, about considering how someone else might feel if you did A, B, C, or D, or if you said this or that. We just, we thought about, no, this is what I want, this is what I need, and that's all that matters. I don't need to listen to anything above that. So I think we're starting to see that we need to get back to back to we instead of me, because me doesn't exist without we.
Right. And that's well said. Every major ideology, every major philosophy and religion in the world has the same core belief. We're all one. We're all connected. We all share the energy of the same source. It doesn't matter what vocabulary you use, right?
Yes.
We're obligated to each other because we are each other. Exactly. One person suffers, we all suffer, whether you deny it or not. I've had people call me to task on my channel. That's not true. Well, let me refer you to the Sermon on the Mount, Okay,
yes. Yeah. That. What you do to the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Spiritual Garden would like to know what the title of that book was again.
Political Ponerology. Ponerology.
Ponerology. Political Ponerology. There you go.
Basically an analysis of the evolution of evil in politics. Yeah. It's really good, but it's a hard book. I don't like to recommend it too much because then people get mad at me. I have it here someplace. I've got, I'm surrounded by very precarious piles of books. If there's an earthquake, I'm going to die under a pile of books.
The books are all gonna fall.
What a way to go.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
So
excited.
hello,
Somebody asked
spiritual
if one
garden.
person reads that book, I'll be so thrilled.
Yes. Yeah. Star and Flurry. Yes. You're more than welcome. We do it for all. Yeah. And yeah, Patrick Duncan. Hello, Patrick. Marby Gangora Mousy. Thank you for being here. Angel Rivera, Witchy Gardens 919. Hello. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Liza Field. Hello. So thank you. Thank you all for joining us. I'm
You
really
have so
glad
many
you're here.
friends.
I do. And I love it. I love to see them.
You're
Yeah.
popular.
I love it. So, we're going to move on to something else. But before we do, I wanted to share something that was sent to me earlier today that I thought it kind of encapsulates everything that happened over the last 24 hours. So let me see if I can share that with you. Hold on. Da, da, da.
Who's that guy?
That's Mark Carney.
Oh, he doesn't look like the guy I saw.
That's our
like more reddish hair.
Yeah. No, that's our prime minister. There you go. You go.
Is that really the cover, or is this a joke?
No, it's a joke.
I want it to really be the cover.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Perfect. Letter perfect.
Absolutely. There you go.
The ring. The ring is a really nice touch.
Yes, totally. So yes, and I'll give credit where credit is due. It was David from Tarot by the Bay who sent this to me, and I just cracked up. I thought
beautiful.
Oh,
but I'm surprised that that's who he is, because I saw a fleeting, like a fleeting image of him in some context, and I really wasn't paying a lot of attention. And I thought he was a little heavier and had reddish hair. Maybe I was confusing him with another person in the picture. I don't know. Yeah.
It could be. It could be, but no, that's Mark Carney.
It's actually cuter than I thought. You guys have a hot
yes, yeah, and he's smart. He is not a career politician, but he learned very quickly how to be approachable, how to talk to people, how to communicate, how to get his message across. I'm very, very glad that things went the way that they did. So that's that for this part of the discussion. Now, the other thing that I thought that we could take a look at was, of course, we had on Saturday was Pope Francis' funeral, and it was attended by a lot of people. I had thought that Trump wouldn't go, but he did. Of course he did. He showed up in a blue suit.
Because the rules do not apply.
No.
The most basic norms do not apply.
No, that's for the little people. That's not, it has nothing to do. So there he is. I mean, he has to stand out in the pictures, right? He has to be able to identify himself. If there's a photo of 100 people, he has to be able to say, yeah, that's me. Anyone over the age of 10 probably knows that if there's a funeral, you wear black. Just like most people know, if there's a wedding, you don't show up wearing a white dress. There's just some. Anyway.
And as my mother would say, you don't wear white shoes after Labor Day.
That's right. Or before May Long.
I grew up in a time when a lady didn't leave the house without stockings and gloves and a hat. Now, needless to say, I've never been a lady, but that was the standard. It was, that's a long time ago. That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And yes, he fell asleep.
Oh, he
and
did? Now, I
and he
didn't
was
watch
snoring.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Allie mentioned this yesterday, that he was snoring so that it reverberated in the basilica.
You're kidding me.
And then at one point, because he was sleeping, he let one go.
No. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm not humiliated because I did not vote for the man.
Exactly. Exactly.
Horrendous. Well, can I tell
Yeah.
you a little funny thing?
Absolutely.
I woke up last Monday and had to turn off my alarm. I don't have like a surgical relationship with my telephone. It's not attached to me. But I picked it up to turn off my alarm, and I noticed I had like 60 million messages. Nobody ever messages me. So I looked at it. It was everybody I know in my family and all my friends accusing me of killing the Pope because it was my birthday.
Oh no!
And I've been predicting. I knew I could. I knew
Yes.
it was coming. Yes, he was old, but that he's better thing. And so I've been telling people, you don't believe it. It's going to happen any minute. And so everyone was like, Helen, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, it wasn't you. It was J.D. Vance.
I agree.
It was J.D. Vance.
I agree.
Yeah.
The horror of that encounter just was the final straw.
Yes.
What is your take on, like, I'm not specific people to be Pope, but the role of the Pope moving forward, what it served recently, like in the past, it's just horrendous, but recently, what it meant in the context of current events and what it means moving forward. What is your opinion on that?
I think that I would like to see a lot of the things that Pope Francis spoke about. I wanted to see them expanded on. I really think that the time has come to stop looking at the LGBTQ community as somehow being an evil. It's horrible. If I go along with the idea that God created everything, then God created people who are of a different persuasion than I am. He didn't make a mistake. That happened for a reason. So, who am I to say who someone else should love, or, who they should care about, or whatever? I don't want someone intruding, those kinds of thoughts or feelings into my life. So what gives me permission to do it to someone else?
It's a really uninformed view of the reality we live in, because I feel very lucky. I went to a Jesuit university.
Yes.
So people assume, they control what you learn. You don't learn everything that they don't want you to know about. The opposite is true. Jesuits are the renegades of the Catholic Church. They got kicked out of the New World because they wouldn't go along with Ferdinand and Isabella, right?
Yeah.
And I took a class that was team taught. There were 6 professors who taught this big, crowded, assembly hall. There was a biologist, a psychologist, a philosopher, a theologist. I can't even remember who all it was.
All the ologists. All the ologists.
Yeah, the ologists of the yin yang. And it was a class on human sexuality. So you can imagine it was always overbooked. I mean, people were like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to take that class. Yeah. It was very challenging and it was really informative. Now, granted, I went to a Catholic girls' school, so maybe my horizons were a little narrow, when I went to college. But one thing stuck out that I have always remembered. Now, this is in the very early 70s, so we've learned even more since then.
Yes.
Human sexuality, like everything, is on a spectrum.
Yes.
And in nature, it is a normal variation to have any combination of external, internal, hormonal, neurological factors that affect sexuality. And to single out a group of people as being wrong or other or different is ridiculous, because you don't even know what your situation is really. You may have a dominant
Yes.
presentation, but we're all on a continuum. And who are we to judge? Who made us? Who died and made
Yes.
us? Einstein,
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly. I have never approached someone and said, "Hi, my name is Marina, heterosexual. Who are you?" It just doesn't happen. I want to get to know the person. I don't care. It doesn't affect my life, and it shouldn't affect my life how it is that you live your life. Some people decide that they don't want to be parents. They don't want to have kids. That's your decision.
That's right. That's
your decision. That there's so many things along those lines. I would like to see a pope that is a little more inclusive.
How about a lot more inclusive? Why stop at a little? How about a whole lot more inclusive?
Yeah.
Let's start with, I don't know, women.
Women, yes. Yeah, exactly. And to that end, let's look at Mary Magdalene. A lot of people bought into that early religious, that Christian ideal that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. She was not. I hate to tell you, if it wasn't for her financial support, Jesus may not have been as well known as he was, because she was the one who funded that mission. She was the one who kind of looked after things on the back end and allowed him to preach the message that he wanted to preach.
She was like his business manager.
Yes.
John the Baptist was his PR guy, his front guy. She was
exactly.
And I think what's so important that we're not taught is the Gnostic Gospels that got burned and buried and rediscovered. I just covered the book, the Gnostic Gospels, came out in the 70s. And when I read it then, it made an impression, but it's interesting to compare decades later.
Yes.
My understanding of it. And I think it was a revelation to some people who listened to the story of it were like, oh, you're kidding. The early Christian church was a battlefield amongst the people vying for power. And it wasn't just power, it was the belief system itself. It was voted on. They had a council, the Nicene Council.
Yes.
And they sat around the table, all in favor of reincarnation. Raise your hand.
Yes. Yes.
Nuts.
Yes, absolutely. And, what's going to be included in the Bible, what's going to be taken out. Oh, I don't like this word, no word. We're going to change that. We're going to make it more this and more that. And they could do it at the time because most people weren't able to read. So, and it was different languages, as we now know. It wasn't just one singular language. So you needed that priest to kind of act as the interpreter. Oh, here it is. This is what it says. Depending on how good their translation was or how honest they were in what it is that was translating.
That's the big thing. When Gutenberg came out with the printing press, the first thing he printed was the Bible.
Yes.
This was a gigantic paradigm shift, because before that, ordinary people were not allowed access to a Bible. And I'm not implying that the Bible is the be all and end all of truth. I don't believe that. I believe it's cobbled together from ancient scriptures. Paul Wallace, now there's an interesting man who is a linguist and a historian and a researcher. His work is on YouTube. He does The Fifth Kind television on YouTube.
Yes.
When you hear what he has to say about the history of these foundational writings, the documents, it really changes your perspective. It makes you realize, oh, there's a lot more control and manipulation going on than there is any kind of fraternal love or brotherly love.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm, hoping that I think there's a very good possibility that the Pope is not going to, the new Pope is not going to be a fair-skinned man. I think that, he's, I'm for some reason, I'm thinking that the fellow that's Filipino. The cardinal that's Filipino.
Well, I hope you're right. Now, I don't know anything about him other than what Nate told me this morning, which is that he tends to be more on the progressive side. The two candidates, he's one, and the other one I did know about is from Africa, and he is horrendously conservative, thinks homosexuality is a mortal sin that is punishable by death. So, okay, now we kind of know what the opposing points of view are. I think that depending on who's chosen, it's going to be a symptom of the direction we're headed. So, and that person will have great influence on continuing that direction. So if they pick a progressive, an open-minded, kind of a John the 23rd sort of character, I will feel a sense of hope because that will be a voice of compassion and social responsibility. If they pick somebody who is a sworn conservative, a hater, because that's what they are. I'm going to be really worried because they do have a position. The Pope has the power of influencing. It's a political position.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah.
Whether you believe it or not. He does. He does have influence, and I think that I would like to be able to see a candidate and see how they, throughout their life, have embodied the teachings of Christ. The idea of, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Your how you treat the least amongst you.
Feed how the hungry, visit the sick, welcome the stranger, the basics, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Those things. That's what's important. Not the fact that, I rose from a priest to a cardinal and here I am. I'm not going to be Pope. And I'm
so good with money. I ought to be Pope. Ask yourself this. If you wonder about the argument, is he political, is he not political, ask yourself this: if this weren't a political position, why were all those world leaders at his funeral? I mean,
exactly. Exactly. And yes, all the world leaders that were there, I love the fact that the picture that was posted of Trump and Billy the Kid, let's be kind and just be respectful of everyone in the chat. And what was I going to say? With
Trump and somebody,
Zelensky.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
Right? Yes, and I think that Zelensky looked very determined. And I thought that Trump looked very, very weak. And it was telling to me that Trump said afterwards that, that Zelensky was a lot calmer this time. And I thought, you think? He wasn't surrounded by your sycophants going, da, 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 and you're not grateful, and you're this, and you're that. So, when you're surrounded by your posse and, by the bullies that are part of who you are, yeah, you can be really bombastic and you can get loud and obnoxious. But when they're not behind you, what happens to you? Where's your strength? All of a sudden you're sitting in the chair kind of like that.
Yeah, his body language was, I think, very illustrative of his state of mind. And the other thing that I think is interesting is when he's around Zelensky with no one else around, the fact of his ignorance kind of comes out of his pores.
Oh,
say it, but
yes,
it's really odd. The body, I'm trying to think of how I would describe his body language. It's almost submissive.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not
yeah,
the
don't
right word, but
don't hurt me. Don't say anything that's going to hurt my feelings.
Or I'm not feeling as secure as I tend to be about all of my bluster. Yeah.
Exactly. And Mark says sleepy Dawn. Biden was at the funeral too, and it's amazing that Biden stayed awake while sleepy Dawn fell asleep, snored.
Well, those Big Macs kind of sit heavy on you.
Yes. yes. Now, you brought up a really, really good point earlier, and I'm going to share this little picture with you guys. And
I think
we discussed, and several people, over the weekend, discussed Melania at the funeral, and the question was raised by several people: was it really her, or was it a body double? I thought, and I had said yesterday, pardon the language, I said, you know what? She looks like she's been rode hard and put away wet, because she did not look good. Now, Helen shared a picture, and I'll put it up, and you guys can take a look at it, and you can tell us whether you agree or not. It could be bad lighting. It could be just a bad photo. But does that look like a woman standing next to Donald, or does that look like a man pretending to be a woman standing next to Donald?
And does Donald look tentative?
Yes.
Like uncertain. Nate sent me this earlier today. I did not watch the funeral for a variety of different reasons. I'm trying very hard to be judicious about what I expose myself to, because anybody who watches my channel knows I'm always in a state of high alert about everything, and I'm trying, to not be. And I knew that would be an emotional event for me to watch, because I have very strong opinions. I know that, right? So I missed out on all the fun, because apparently an awful lot went on. But I have good friends who have been filling me in. He sent me this and asked me, do you think this was really her? I took one look at it and I went, who is that? Because no, I really don't think it's her. And I'm not given to conspiracies like that.
I know.
I'm really not. Something is not right about this picture. Let's just put it that way. Something is not right. And if it's only the energy between them, that is significant in and of itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
It if it was a bad angle or whatever, okay, no problem. But she does not. She always she's very concerned with her appearance and how she comes across. This does not look like someone who put on makeup.
Well, the skin of this person is really flawed.
Yes.
And covered up with
Yes.
makeup. And I've never
Yes.
seen her look that way. I mean, I'll give her credit. She does a good job on her makeup. I couldn't do it. I couldn't wear the kind of
Yes.
I mean, even if I could wear those clothes, I couldn't walk in the shoes. Forget about it. So give her credit for that. She's always very put together, very put together. That's important to her. You wouldn't know from this picture.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, yeah, she appears taller. There's just something off. There's just something off. And the other comment that I made was, if it is her, she looks like someone whose child is being held hostage until she shows up and does what she's told to do.
It's a hostage
Like
video.
I'm terrified. Oh my God, I need my child back.
Yeah.
But this is definitely not the not the projection of the person that she normally
right. And I would not want to contribute to conspiracy theories, and so I would tend to say there's something not right here, and more than likely because of who we are, we're picking up on this weird energy. But is that all it is? I don't know. But I was shocked when I saw it. I was like,
yes,
kidding me? Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll take it down. But that was quite something.
Well, I will say this in her defense. I wouldn't want pictures of me to be circulated globally.
Especially standing next to that,
Oh, probably. Yeah. She's probably downwind. That might be the problem. Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm going to hell, Marina, so I might as well just go for it.
Listen, you're going to be surrounded by so many friends. You won't know what to do.
There's a bench down there with a plaque with my name on it.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. You'll be able to find your seat. Yeah. That's you know what? Yeah, I've often said that. Yeah, I'm going to hell anyway. So if you believe in such a thing, right?
Was there anything else that happened there that I need to know about that nobody has told me yet? Because I like a little gossip.
Well, now, okay. Apparently, where I think it's where the coffin was, there was a carpet underneath it, and everyone, including Donald and the missus, were told, you do not step on the carpet. Guess what they did? They stepped on the carpet.
The rules don't apply.
So what was the other thing that he he stepped on the carpet. He wore a blue suit. Wasn't supposed to do that. Apparently they left very quickly, like after the funeral, boom, they were gone. When Trump and Melania walked into the basilica, nobody said anything. It was, they were barely acknowledged. Zelensky walked in after them, and he got an astounding round of applause.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So, yeah. Hey, Roxy. Hey, Randy. Hey, all of you that are here. Julie. Hey.
Hey, everybody.
Everybody. Hello, everybody.
I can't see the names, so I don't, I would say hello, but, hello.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am hoping that there is a very narcissistic part of Trump that is, looking around and seeing the greeting that Biden received, that Zelensky received, that the other leaders received versus his own. And it's like, okay, Are these people going to be at my funeral?
Oh,
Are they going to be saying those things
Marina,
about
with
me?
bells on.
Yeah, totally. And yes, he was supposed to be in the third row, but apparently he made such a fuss that they moved him to the front row.
Do you
I would have
remember?
let him scream. I would have let him pitch a fit.
Yeah.
With the cameras rolling.
Yeah.
Right?
Baby. Yeah. Suck your thumb. Don't forget your bubble gum.
Yes.
When I can't believe I remember that. Do you remember the G12, G8, however many G's it was, where they all got together, and I think it was maybe in Hungary. No, maybe it was in Finland, and they were doing a group picture of all the leaders, and he actually shoved people out of the. I couldn't believe it. Oh my God.
Totally. Yeah. I think I want to say it was like the leader of Macedonia, or it was one of the European countries that he did. He walked past him and pushed him out of the way.
I mean, I'm surprised the guy didn't fall down. It was pretty violent.
Yes.
And just completely unapologetic.
Yes, totally. I deserve to be in the front row. I'm here. Bow at my feet, wallow in my glory. He is absolutely, he's a petulant little toddler who likes to, stomp his feet and I want my cookie. Where's my cookie? Yeah.
Mentally not well.
Yes.
And I haven't seen her on television since November. But on Midas Touch, they have a Saturday show, a weekend show with Anthony Davis. Yep. And in the lead up to the election, so for a couple of months, he did like an hour, 2 hours every weekend. He interviewed Dr. Bandy Lee. And she was the one who instigated that book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump.
Yes.
And she just it was so informative, so educational to learn about psychopathology.
Yes.
Very interesting. I would recommend that. I'm sure that's still on YouTube.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah, she was very well spoken and stayed on point. And what she was saying, she could back up what she was saying. So yeah, very, very informative. And she was like the spokesperson, but she wrote the book with several other.
Oh, when they first came out with that book, there were, I'm going to make numbers up, but I'm not that far off. There were like 27 people professionals, mental health professionals, and historians who agreed with her and signed on to the book.
Yes.
But and contributed. In fact, I think I covered the book now that I think about it, the newer edition. As new editions came out, more contributors signed on until there were well over 100 of professionals who were saying, red alert.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, I think it fell on deaf ears.
Yeah, it did. Although the people that are listening to him, the number is getting smaller and smaller.
To Anthony Davis?
Oh, no. Trump. I mean Trump.
Oh, you scared me.
Sorry. No. No, the dangerous case of Donald Trump. He doesn't have the power and the influence that he thinks he does. And I mean that is evident in he has always talked about his relationship with Putin, and it was one phone call and the war in Ukraine is over. I mean, on the first day, I'm going to solve it, right? And
well, I'm waiting.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Putin is Putin is playing games with you, and you're just so busy dancing around going, is that what you wanted, Vlad? Is that what you wanted? Did I say that right? Nobody is taking him seriously, and his perceived power is getting less and less and less and less. And it won't take long, and there will come a day soon enough where the people who fully support him now are going to turn on him like, yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm a pacifist. I do not espouse violence. I was born on Falls Road in Belfast, in Ireland, from a very committed political family.
Yes.
And we emigrated here kind of because of that. My father was like, so we came here. I thank God every day that I got out of that.
Yes.
Because that was a culture, not the fault of the Catholics or the Protestants, not the fault of anybody other than the British Empire and the oppressors, right?
Yes.
And we can see my background, but it was a violent, vindictive, retaliatory kind of environment.
Yes.
I don't believe that. But having said that, I have two words for all of them down there in Washington, D.C. French Revolution.
Yes.
Pull out your history books. Do a little reading.
What
really kicked off? Go ahead. Sorry.
It's amazing how history repeats itself. If you just take a moment to read what happened in the past, it's a very good predictor of what's going to happen in the future. Pretending that it didn't happen in the past, yeah, you're not doing yourselves any favor at all.
We never learn. We never seem to learn. What kicked off the French Revolution? What was, I mean, there was a lot. It's complicated, but like the last straw was the bread riots, the mothers' bread riots, when women could not feed their children. That was it. So we'll see when Walmart runs out of bread.
I know. I know.
Scary.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Well, I think that we've pretty much covered, the major topics in the world. We'll have to get together again and solve some of the other problems.
They need to call on us. I really think, we could go as sort of an international coalition.
Totally.
And call together a convocation of Canadians and Americans and solve this like all mothers can in a week.
Exactly.
Knock some sense into all of them, right?
Exactly. So, all righty. Thank you, each and every one of you who joined us and who participated in the chat. And I love that you always share your insights with each other, and you're very encouraging and very informative as well. So thank you for that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I do have Helen's channel in the description of the video. And Helen, of course, thank you so much for being here
Marina,
with me. And we'll definitely do it again.
Hands across the border, right?
I know.
We're above all this nonsense.
Totally.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Take care. And we'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Long of oil, everybody.